Hello, my name is Alyssa Choate, and I will be hosting today's episode of the Purpose Center series Self Care Sundays, a holistic approach to a healthier you, where we talk about all things holistic health. I'll let our guest introduce himself briefly, and then we'll get right into today's focus on the benefits of acupuncture.
Hi, I'm Jon E Walker of Bull City Acupuncture here in Durham. I've been practicing Chinese medicine and acupuncture for about almost 15 years now.
And could you explain what acupuncture is for anyone who might not know?
Sure. So acupuncture is a general term for treatment of some kind of illness, body problem with a solid filiform needle. There's many different styles of acupuncture. I use Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, as a framework for applying acupuncture treatment to disease in the body. I also use Western orthopedic thinking or conceptual framework to apply the acupuncture needle to heal orthopedic problems.
Okay.
So, there is some controversy out there about PTs using an acupuncture needle to do dry needling. I consider that acupuncture. Um, they just don't use Chinese medicine to think about the body. They use Western orthopedic thinking to think about it. So the acupuncture needle is a very flexible tool to treat lots of different things in the body. It's not just for mental health issues or musculoskeletal pain or nerve pain or internal medicine. So it's can be applied very, very flexibly um, to treat lots of different things.
Okay. And could you give us an example of what a typical day at your job would look like at Bull City Acupuncture?
Sure. So I treat patients all day long. So if someone were to come see me for the very first time, it's an hour and a half visit where I ask them in depth about their main complaints. And then I ask them all about their body system. So like thirst, sweating, digestion, are they hot, are they cold? So all of this stuff gives me information to make a Chinese medicine diagnosis for the problem. Sometimes that's kind of irrelevant if it's just, oh, I twisted my back. Other times it's very, very important information to figure out what's going on with the patient that allows me to apply acupuncture or herbal medicine to try and fix their chief complaint. So the first visit, there's a lot of talking, and I'm making sure the patient is nice and comfortable for the acupuncture if they've never had it before. And then usually they're relaxing on the table for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Return visits are about an hour, and it's sort of the same thing, but shortened. I don't have to ask every single question all again. I've sort of honed everything down. I have my working diagnosis, and so I question them about their symptom or like how do they feel after the treatment, and then I get an idea if I need to change something that I'm doing. And that's just like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So I just follow that pattern throughout the day. Um, and I see lots of different things because acupuncture is really great for musculoskeletal problems. That's roughly 50% of my practice. I do see a fair number of nerve problems, anywhere from neuropathy to nerve entrapments, sciatica, things like that, and to migraine headaches, to fertility problems, to just straight gynecological problems. So wide gamut in my practice because I'm a generalist and I'm super excited to treat everything. Some practices will just be super focused on one thing. Oh, we only do gynecology, women's health, fertility. Other people, I just do musculoskeletal things. So it's important that when you're looking for a practitioner of acupuncture, Chinese medicine, to contact someone that's conveniently located to you. What do they treat? How do they treat it? Do they have a focus on things? Because some people do have specialties, and if they just do orthopedic medicine, it may not be the best fit for someone who is seeking support for a fertility issue or anxiety or depression. So it's important to like talk to the practitioner beforehand, and most of them should be happy to talk to you a little bit
Hmm.
about like that to help you choose the best practitioner.
So, in your work as an acupuncturist, what have you learned throughout your time there about acupuncture and people's own mental well-being or the way that they react to acupuncture? Maybe in a way they weren't like thinking originally when they first came in for acupuncture.
Oh, sure. Okay. I think this is one of the kind of brilliant things about acupuncture. And I had this experience when I first received it many years ago. I had some digestive issues, and all that stuff got better, right? I took some herbs, I did some acupuncture, my digestion improved, I made some lifestyle changes. But there was this sort of intangible quality. I never talked to it about it to my acupuncturist. But I definitely felt like more embodied. I felt more like me. Um, and I was able to uh start to notice when I was feeling some anxiety, which I had never identified myself as being an anxious person before. So, but I was able to identify that and kind of work on that. Um, Acupuncture works gangbusters for anxiety. I've seen a lot of that in my clinic. It's really great for calming down the nervous system, for balancing the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So when anxiety, people like get kicked into fight or freeze, and the acupuncture can like really just turn that signal down, and it provides one of the images I use to describe it to people is it just provides a lot of space for them. So instead of their problem being like, it's in my face, I can't make a
Yeah.
decision about anything, all of a sudden there's all this space, right? And you're like, oh, okay, that's a problem. I need to deal with that. Oh, this person, I don't like the way I feel around this person, but you have enough space to start to make decisions around those things. And I've been super happy and psyched to treat people with anxiety. Depression, it's interesting. I don't see that much in my practice.
Okay.
And my theory is that it's I mean, people either it's not well known enough that acupuncture is also very good for depression, or that it's just harder for the average person with depression to motivate to do the thing to come in, because of the way like their nervous system is. But like the research is like, I mean, anxiety and depression are kind of two sides of the same coin, the same system. And there's actually a fair amount of research of acupuncture being super helpful for depression. I just don't see a lot of it in my practice.
I'm sure
Um,
those both go hand in hand with them having a lack of motivation and with not even knowing about the benefits acupuncture would have for depression.
right. And I think the other thing is that for the average person, like that switch from a sympathetic overdrive to a parasympathetic dominance where they're, feeling like, oh, I'm relaxed, like not freaking out. For the average person, that's fairly noticeable after a session. But for a depressive patient, it's not, there's not that switch. It doesn't feel the same. And so I think it takes a little bit longer for them to start to experience like this change of like, oh, okay, I was able to get out of bed today. I was able to meet this challenge in my life without like collapsing inward and like wanting to run and hide in my bedroom. Um, I mean, it's, slightly different experience there. So
Mhm. And I know you've touched on now the mental benefits of acupuncture. Could we also go on to the physical benefits of both acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine, and then how also Chinese herbal medicine would help with like mental health benefits too?
sure. So acupuncture is great for sort of just relaxing the body, relaxing the mind, de-stressing. It regulates digestion, it regulates the hormonal system, it reduces inflammation. Um, there's good evidence, like for example, of like a course of acupuncture reducing people's if they're like hay fever sufferers, like reducing their allergic state, so they're less allergic to things. Um, and then it's a great treatment for musculoskeletal pain, just like releasing tight muscles, just working on trigger points, increasing blood flow, really reducing tightness in muscles. Um, let's see. And then there's I mean, the hormonal effects, like it's a really useful tool for any kind of gynecological issue. So pain, cramping, PMS, PMDD, um, like uh, it's, I mean, I think pretty well known for helping support women conceive, so fertility stuff. So it's really, so I said in the beginning, it just like has a really wide-ranging effect, like on the body. Um, can be widely applied to like lots of different issues,
Hmm.
helpful. The herbal side of it, which is 20 to 30% of my practice, with some of that, there's some different challenges I think with the Chinese herbal medicine. One, um, Americans just aren't used to taking gross tasting herbs, right? And I wish I could say that the herbs taste great. They don't. Now when I'm giving a patient herbs, I'm just like, it tastes bad. You can't add anything to it to make it taste good. Don't try, right? You just have to deal with it afterwards. So like, it's a little bit of a barrier, and that's also something that they're having to do on a daily basis. So I think that's tough sometimes, I think one of your questions was like, well, what's a challenge that I see in the clinics? I want people are really busy. Um, and I'm not talking about like high-powered CEOs flying all over the world to do stuff. I'm talking about regular people. They just work too much. They don't have enough support at home. Like, and then to add in this thing where you got to boil the water and you pour it on it's a lot. So there's that. And people are also on a fair amount of medications. Um, on average, like there's not a big concern with like even most psychiatric meds. There's not much concern or evidence that mixing Chinese herbs with meds is a big deal, um, except for things like lithium as a no-no, and then you have to be super careful when someone's on some kind of blood thinner. But as long as you're spacing out the medication, like I mean, I check often to see if there's evidence that's shown up, but in 15 years, I just haven't seen anyone coming up saying like, "Hey, this is don't do this."
Hmm.
And I am on the watch out for that. All that being said, sort of like the trouble of integrating it into a Westerner's life, super useful. I love herbs. In Chinese medicine, we really tailor our medications to the patient. So it's not just like, oh, if you have anxiety, you get my anxiety formula. Oh, you have depression, you get the depression formula. It's like, well, how does your anxiety present? What is your digestion like? How, does it disturb your sleep? Are you um, a very thin person? Are you a very heavy person? Same thing with depression. Like, oh, how does your depression present? And so we're like matching the herbal formula to that person. And then we follow them along and we're altering the prescription as their symptomology changes. So it's not just like, well, here you go. Here's your one prescription for the rest of your life, and it never changes. And we're matching that prescription with the goal of having that person not need to take the medication.
Hmm.
Um, so that I feel like I rambled on for a little while
It was
about
good. I was wondering what like are some common herbs that you would like in a patient case that you like recommend, or like how does that process sort of start to talk to a patient about like Chinese herbal medicine as like treatment?
sure. Um, so in my clinic, which I do a lot of acupuncture, and right now, I put that forward first. Usually Americans are coming to me for acupuncture,
Hmm.
and I just happen to do Chinese herbal medicine because I'm known as an acupuncturist, even though I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner.
Mhm.
Um, so I present a treatment plan to every new patient that comes in the door. And if I think that herbs are needed on day one, I'm just going to say, hey, I think your problem, the way it's presenting, we really, herbs are going to be the best way for you to get better the fastest. Um, uh, a lot of times though, I'm just like, you know what? Acupuncture works great for this. Like, but if we feel like there's like a timing issue, like, oh, you can't come in for your appointments on a regular basis, um, or you just feel like you need extra support, or you're just like all in, you want to do everything you possibly can, like I'll present an herbal formula to them. And so then that's all based on Chinese medicine diagnosis. So I do a feel the pulse and on both sides. I look at the tongue, and then based on their symptomology on their intake form, I'm picking a main formula and then making additions and subtractions to that. And I use powdered granules, so they're cooked in a factory and they're spray dried onto starch, which seems like magic to me, like that can be done.
Yeah.
And then so they take like 500 grams of herbs and they shrink it down into this little powder and they make a tea out of it. It's typically done twice a day. The dosage can vary on the person's weight. So
Okay. Okay. And you've already kind of talked about like the most daunting or difficult part of your job. What would you say is like the most rewarding about your job?
I'm so many things. I love my job, and sometimes I forget that not everyone loves their job. Um, so I love it when a patient gets off the table and it's just like, oh, it doesn't hurt,
Mhm.
or they're just like, I hear them snoring in the next room, or they're just like, whoa, I feel so relaxed when they get off the table. So there's this immediate gratification, with many patients that I get of just seeing them like start to improve, and have the opportunity to change and just be their best selves. And then, watching over time as people go out into the world and they have less pain. They're able to do the things that they want to do. Their anxiety is much less. Uh, their menstrual cycle normalizes. That they get pregnant, and carry to term, like that type of thing. It's like super duper rewarding. Um, and I mostly, most of my patients are nice people, and I enjoy like chatting them up. Um, so yeah.
Okay. And then, so within your line of work, if there was just one thing that you wish everyone could know and take away from acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine in relation to mental health, what's the one thing that you just wish that everyone would know about it?
That it's a safe and effective medicine, I think is the primary thing. I think there's still a fair amount of resistance out there, although in the last 15 years, like I think there's people are more and more open to it. It's more and more in the mainstream. And that the other thing is that it's a physical medicine. I think because the way we talk about the body in Chinese medicine, it's a conceptual lens. We say like, oh, yin and yang, and like your chi and your blood and
Hmm.
all the stuff. It's a conceptual system, and it's a different lens to look at the body than Western sort of like physical based medicine. Um, and like, but it's still rooted in this, right?
Hmm.
So like 2000 years of people trying to solve problems in the human body, and they just watched and paid attention, and they talked to their patients and they touched their patients, and and God bless the Chinese for writing everything down, right? Like, and that's why
Yeah.
we have this medicine, because they wrote everything down. Um, and like argued about it. They've been arguing about the best way to treat people for over 2000 years. So it's a very physical medicine. It's not in my opinion, it's like chi is just a way to describe function in the body. when they didn't have a better, they didn't have a better word, or a better way to talk about your heartbeat, peristalsis, like hormone function. But I came up with a great conceptual system for that, and it still is a great way to treat mental health issues as well as a host of other things.
Yeah, it's definitely not well known enough, and hopefully more people through this will learn more about Chinese medicine and acupuncture and how it's super helpful both physically and mentally as a holistic health option. And then lastly, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
So I have a website, bullcityacupuncture.com. You can contact me through there, or you can send me an email at Jon, at bullcityacupuncture.com.
Thank you so much for being on today's episode of the Purpose Center series, Holistic Health, and I hope you had a great time.
Thanks, I did. Thanks for all the questions.